Okay guys, this is part 2 to that video. This one will be shorter. Section 3 is exactly like section 2, except for they ask the question backwards. And I'm going to do a few problems on here and show you how this works. So number 24. Number 24 in your book on page 257. On page 257, and this is what number 24 says. It says, find the z-score that has 78.5% of its distribution area to the left. So let's draw a picture because it's good to get a visual. I want the z-score where 78%, well this mean, a z-score of 0, this mean is always at 50%, so there's 50% to the left and 50% to the right. We want 78.5%, so we want this area 78.5%. We'll change that percent to a decimal. So we're interested in this area. If we want to find that area, the z-score that belongs to that area, we'd have to look for the 0.785, but not on the z-score side over here. We want to look at it in the body of the table. We want to find the number that's closest to 0.785 in here. And I'm getting closer and closer and closer. Here's 0.7823, here's 785. Now if I hold on to that number and look all the way over to the left, it comes out to a 0.7, and I go all the way over this 0.785 and I go up, it's a 0.09, so my number is 0.79. This is the z-score that belongs to that. If they gave you something to the right of the curve, like number 26 says, what is the number to the right of the curve over here? And they telling us that this area is 20.9. Changing it to a decimal. They want the z-score that corresponds to this. Well, what I'd have to do is, the table only gives me numbers to the left of the score that I'm interested in. So I very simply have to do 1 minus that 0.209, and I'll get 791. So this area is going to represent 79%, and this one's going to be about 21%. This is the number that we look up to get the z-score, not this one, because the table only gives us areas to the left of the score that we're interested in. Don't forget that. And if you have to watch this video over and over again, do that. So in the table, see if you can find it. It's 0.791, and we want the number that's closest to that as possible. And I got a 0.7995, and I got a 7967. I'm going over. I got a 0.7910, and it happens. This happens. I'll use blue because it's this one. It happens at 0.81. That means our z-score is 0.81 for this area. So I hope that makes sense. You could also do ones that are in between, and they might give you an area that's in between two. But let's do an actual problem like number 32 on page 258. And this is what this problem says. Interesting problem. It says world happiness. In a recent study on world happiness, participants were asked to evaluate their current lives on a scale from 0 to 10, where 0 represents the worst possible life and 10 represents the best possible life. The mean response was 5.4 with a standard deviation of 2.2. I guess 5.4 means that, what, people are kind of happy. So, and the standard deviation is 2.2. You could use this mean or this mean. It's a population, I think, study, so it doesn't really say, but it doesn't really matter. In any case, I'm going to need a z-score for the scores that they're interested in. But they're saying what score, part A, 32 part A, represents the 88th percentile. So if they're asking for the 88th percentile, that means what score is better than 88% of everybody else. And this is the area to the left of the score that we're interested in. We don't know what score that is. Is it a 6, a 7, a 9? I don't know what it is. But we need a z-score first. So what we'll do is we'll look in our table. In the body of the table now, which is in here, we're going to look for the number that comes closest to 0.888 and look to the left and up to see what number corresponds to 0.88. I'll find it and you find it together. And 0.88 comes out to really, really close to 1.17 and 1.18. It's right in between the two. It's right in between 1.17 and 1.18. And matter of fact, 88 is perfectly in between 1.17 and 1.18. It's actually 10 points away on either side. So we could actually call this a 1.175 if we want it to be really accurate. This would be our z-score. Now, if you used on a test either one of these, that would be okay. This still doesn't tell us the score that's better than 88% of the people. For that, we got to go to our z-score formula, which was this. And if the z-score is 1.175, we want to know what x makes that z-score if we subtract the average and divide by the standard deviation. Now we're going to have to do a little algebra here and solve for this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this 2.2 and we're going to multiply it up on the other side. Let's do that with our calculators and find out what that comes out to be. 1.175. I know some of you are much faster at this than I am. So I'm going to multiply this up over there and I'm going to get a 2.585, and that's going to equal x minus 5.4. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add that 5.4 onto the other side. So we're just doing some algebra 1 here, and x is going to equal 7985. So I think what we can say is the people who set a score of about 8, very close to 8, they were in the 88th percentile, where they were happier than 88% of the population based on all this data that they collected. So part B says the 61st percentile, and then part C says the first quartile. The first quartile would be just using 25%, 0.25 instead of this, and going through the same procedure. So I'm going to turn you loose on trying some of these. Let's talk about what homework should you be doing. Let's start with this page that we're just on, this page 257. Let's see. I think on page 257, I don't know if you can see that yellow one. We'll use a darker color. On page 257, you should try anything from 17 all the way up to, as far as you can go, 40. If you want to do the odd ones, or you could, if you want practice, you want to do both odds and evens. These are types of questions that'll be on your test from this page. If you want to take a look at the answers, I don't know if you want to take a screenshot of this, but here are my answers. Let me see, let me just start right there, because we're starting at 17. So that's up to 30. And here are the answers for 31 to 35. And here are the answers for 36 to 42. And then let's go back to section 2. If you understand 5.1 and 5.2, you really don't have, 5.2 and 5.3, you don't have to worry about 5.1 because it's all in there already. But in 5.2, which is page 243, you should be able to do anything from 17 again all the way up to, I don't know, maybe, again, we'll do up to 40, odds and evens, and I'll give you the answers to these as well. So here's the answers to page 243, this is. There's the answers for 17 to 37. And then on the next page, here are the answers over here for the other word problems. Don't worry about making a bar chart for that one question. It's all the way up to number 40. So, good luck, and I will talk to you soon. If you have questions, email me. We have a quiz on Tuesday, which will be just like the problems that we just did here. Have a great night. Bye-bye.